The Utah Mammoth is sorta proud to present Nashcast.
What the is a Nashcast?
Nashcast, the only hockey show on the planet. Hosted by a human speed bag, fourth line wannabe, healthy scratch, schnozzy moto, Tyson Nash.
Who the hell is Tyson Nash?
Never heard of him.
And the baritone with a brain, the velvet hammer, Mr. Silky, Tono Suave, the radio voice of your Utah Mammoth,
Code Blue!
Mike Folta.
Oh, Captain, my Captain!
Nashcast begins now.
Ready for takeoff.
Here's Tyler Ganoush and Mickey Foghorn. Wait, what? Oh, here's Tyson Nash and Mike Folta.
Feeling good, folks. Feeling good. Although we're in the dog days of the summer, it is hot. Things were heating up, and now they've cooled off. I think if there is a break, folks, and you probably know this better than I do because you're right there in Utah. This is probably when things die down. Finally, for Andre Turney, the coaching staff, and Bill Armstrong, most importantly. This guy has been burning the candle at both ends. I hope he's getting some well-deserved rest right now because this is finally the offseason. I would think for him, although he's still answering calls because free agency, trying to make this team better every single day. The GM just doesn't sleep, bud.
Yeah, my phone doesn't have nearly as many Elliot Friedman notifications on it. So that is a sign right there that we're in the dog days where there's not a ton of sports. We have the World Cup, which has been fun. We have the World Cup and you know the MLB and stuff like that, but it's pretty slow right now. And
UFC. What did you watch that? I was so disappointed.
I heard I didn't miss anything.
Oh my God, buddy. Like I am so rattled. I was so ready for the fight of the century between those two guys. I mean, they don't hold back. And I got to think, I don't know, you're hearing all this stuff on the internet. You're watching the stuff. But Conor McGregor, he was hurt. There's no way he was not hurt before that fight. It just, there's too much evidence. There's too much video. You know, I can't imagine Dana White is all too happy right now because I think his brand took a little bit of a hit. Not that it's going to affect him, but man, was I disappointed. I wanted to see a slugfest.
Yeah. How many times were you hurt when you dropped the gloves?
Oh, I mean, you get hurt while you're fighting, but a lot of times you never feel it, right? I mean, usually my nose was on the side of my face. That was a given, but you know, I've broken my hand a few times, but in the fight, you don't know. You're just chucking. You're hitting helmets. You're hitting teeth. You're hopefully, you know, doing some damage on the other side too, but you don't feel it. But going into it, 10 seconds, folks, into the fight, he blows his ACL. I'm like, I'm not buying it. Just not buying it.
Didn't he break his leg recently
the fight
too?
Before.
Yeah, he like snapped his leg on some other dude, which is
he's over in my mind. And I've loved Conor McGregor. He's changed the game. The fight he had, the boxing fight with Floyd Mayweather, I thought that was unbelievable. But I don't know. He is just doesn't have it anymore. He's lost it. What has he lost? 4 fights in a row now? I mean, and he's still making a boatload, but he has changed the money for all those fighters, right? So good on him.
When was the last fight that like lived up to our expectations? Because I feel like you get the build up for all these, and I remember, was it Mayweather Pacquiao that like had a ton of build up to it, and like I don't know the first thing about fighting or combat sports, I should say. And like we watched that fight, like all the boys were pooling together our money to watch the pay-per-view. We could barely scrap together $100 or whatever it was. And I'm like, this is it. This is is it, huh? It's not like Rocky. I like Rocky better.
I know. Yeah, that fight. I think the last one for me was Mike Tyson when he made his comeback. That was a big one for me. And I was the biggest Mike Tyson fan ever. Met him. Guy walked into the showers where we're playing a charity event, during one of the lockouts. He walks literally in the shower and he's shaking everyone's hand, right? He's got this tattoo on his face, and I'm like petrified. I'm like, oh my God. Like, but that was my interaction with Mike Tyson, was in the locker room. Huge hockey fan. He lives in Arizona.
No kidding.
Yeah, lives in Arizona. Steve Nash was there. So it was a cool day, but I think that was the last one. And that fight, that wasn't great. Wasn't great.
Well, one guy who certainly did live up to the billing during our interview with him was Vincent Trocheck, who we're going to talk to in this week's episode of the Nashcast. Just got acquired via trade from the Utah Mammoth. Going to be a really versatile piece for Utah up front. Tyson, before we get to Trocheck, just wanted to kind of like clean up some of the loose ends from the Mammoth and the work that Bill Armstrong has done the last, couple weeks now. But one thing we didn't get to last episode was the offer sheet to Barrett Hayton that the Utah Mammoth ended up signing. They ended up matching the offer sheet from New Jersey. They'll keep Barrett Hayton in Utah for at least one more year at just under $5 million per. And Tyson, this is a guy that you have seen as he's risen up the ranks, a very high draft pick. A lot of pressure put on him early, and maybe he doesn't have some of that high-end finishing skill that other high draft picks have, but he does a lot of good things for this club, and Andre Tourney sure loves him.
He does. And, he's a guy I've been watching since he was 18, since Phoenix drafted him. The damage he did at the World Juniors. He's an interesting find and player because he was thrust into a role as a number one centerman for the majority of his career right now. And I think he's done an admirable job. Like, he really has, even though you touched on it. He doesn't have the high end of a first line centerman on a really good playoff team, right? Well, now I think he fits perfect. And that's why they didn't want to go out and roll the dice on someone else. I mean, all they get in return is a second round draft pick. Lots of moving parts, clearly, but I think he fits in perfectly now on that third line center role, right? That's where he belongs. That's where he's going to thrive. Kills penalties, can play on your power play. I think that takes a lot of pressure off his shoulders as well. And he can go out there and just do his thing, right? We don't have Kerfoot. So he's a guy that's really going to have to step up. And, he's a little bit more skilled than a Stenlin so now you look at the centerman, right? Strength down the middle in spades. And you roll the dice if you let him go. And then you're just trying to replace him with someone else who's a little bit more of an unknown.
And he touches every part of the game. I mean, you mentioned he can play on the penalty kill. He has played a lot of power play time at the net front throughout his career as well. He had 20 goals 2 years ago. Didn't have the season he wanted this last year. Was hurt for part of it. Was hurt in the playoffs. Only had 10 goals in, I think, 67 games. But you look at the last few years when he's been healthy. He had 19 goals, 4 years ago? He had 20 goals 2 years ago. So he's a guy where you can expect, between 10 and 20 goals. And if he's doing that in a 3C role, offensively, you're feeling good, but you also can rely on him defensively because he wins a lot of battles and he's not afraid to do the dirty things on the ice.
Yeah, familiarity. You don't have enough of it. And he's been a part of the fabric and the growing process, right? The foundation of this team. I mean, you think of Keller, you think of Crouse. I mean, you think of Barrett Hayden. He's right there alongside of him. And I think he's gonna thrive, maybe not more offensively. You're right. He's probably a 12 to 16 goal guy this year if he can stay healthy. Because he's not going to be thrust into those offensive situations. He's not going to play the first line power play. He's not going to be playing with Keller and Schmaltz, which, that helps. I could play with Keller and Schmaltz and get 5 goals. I would think, right? At least in practice, maybe. But, I guess the other area I wanted to touch on is, the blue line. And I don't think Bill Armstrong is done. I think every day he's looking at the roster and he's going, we need to get stronger. They lose Cole, they lose Dursey. And they haven't replaced either of those two guys, right? So your defensive side of the puck is a little bit weaker on your blue line. A lot more strength in goal with Karel Vejmelka and Kosa, who I absolutely love. This guy is going to be a number one goaltender in the National Hockey League for years to come. Not yet, but he's going to get an opportunity certainly to get some starts this year. But the blue line, what are your thoughts on the blue line? Do you think Bill Armstrong's done?
I think he is, because I think they love the young guys they have. I think you're counting on, based on who they've signed so far and the moves they've made, getting rid of Dursey, letting Ian Cole walk. I would assume that the plan is for Dmitry Simashev to be a full-time NHLer this year. We saw him for 20 or 30 games this last year. Was good, but maybe wasn't as dynamic with the puck as the team was hoping. So they sent him down to Tucson, where he got to play first power play and play 28 minutes a game with the puck on his stick the whole time. So I think you have Dmitry Simashev there as maybe that fifth defenseman. And then I think, based on comments from Bill and what we're hearing in these pressers, I think they expect Maverick Lamoureux, a former first-round pick, to really compete at camp for one of those spots. And if Mav can't get that sixth spot or that seventh spot, you have Nick DeSimone there, who was reliable when he was called upon. You have a couple other depth guys. They just signed Andrew Peak for $1 million. He's kind of a low risk, high reward signing. And so I think the biggest thing for me on the defense, on the back end, is competition, Tyson, where whether if you're a young guy, whether if you're a little bit more established like an Andrew Peak or a Nick DeSimone, you're going to have to compete for those bottom pair spots. And I think that competition's good. That's something that they love.
And we haven't had that. I mean, we had a little bit of it last year, but we got a boatload of it right now. And they have not had that in Arizona. You go back to even when I played. I mean, it has been rebuild after rebuild. Now we're finally out of it. And now you have depth in every single position, including goaltender. So yeah, everybody's going to be pushing. And whether you're on a one-way contract, making $1 million, it doesn't matter. You know that one of these young guys is trying to steal your job, and vice versa. That makes you better as a team. It really does. When guys are pushing, not only against the opposition you play every single night, but every day in practice, right? I mean, Bill Armstrong has so many options at every position. So can't wait to see it. But the biggest moves so far have been the big three, right? Kosa and net. And then Vinny Trocheck. What a stud. What a human. I've met him briefly in the locker room. I've never had a conversation with the guy. And he is an absolute sweetheart and just so polished. The things he says, he talks about, how he knows the game, how he thinks the game, and how excited he is to be here, right? I mean, he spent his last 4 years with the New York Rangers playing alongside some real good hockey players, but he is excited. And anyway, I can't wait for everyone to hear this interview, because it was a special one.
We got to talk with both Vincent Trocheck and Anders Lee following their pressers. Yeah, it's one man rocket after another that got to sit down and talk with us. So we'll probably drop Anders Lee next week, but we have Trocheck this week. A reminder that if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so. Thank you. And follow along on Instagram as well, at Nashcast Official, where we have all these fun shorts and stories from these interviews. But let's not dilly-dally around anymore. Let's get right to one of the newest members of the Utah Mammoth, and a big difference maker up front, Vincent Trocheck.
Holy folks, we got him. The big man is in town. He's in Utah. In fact, he was a third rounder back in the day with the Florida Panthers. One of the best two-way centermen in our game today. He's part of the Utah Mammoth, spent the last 4 years with the New York Rangers. Vincent Trocheck, folks. Thanks for joining the show and the Nashcast, buddy. How we doing?
Great, man. Thanks for having me. What an intro.
Foltz, take it away. This is my co-host, Foltz. He carries the show on most nights.
Yeah, back problems for a season and a half now. But Vincent, we're so excited to have you, man. Can you kind of take us through the last couple days, ever since the trade has been announced, and you've been talking more and more with these Utah guys? Who are the guys you've talked to the most? What were your thoughts when you're flying over the mountains into Salt Lake, realizing all right, this is my new spot here?
Yeah, it's actually been more like a couple of weeks with the whole trade looming and trying to figure out where I was going to be. But after it happened, the last little bit has just been trying to figure out, where I'm going to live and everything about the city as a whole, the team and everything. I skate with Logan Cooley in the summers back in Pittsburgh, so I've been leaning on him a little bit, but he didn't have a whole lot of insight on where I should live, nor
Park City.
Yeah, nor did I trust him very much. So it was. I talked to Kels a little bit. Obviously, I reached out to him. I got to play with Crouser in Florida, so I texted him, and Karks has kids that are playing hockey, so I texted him about that, and just trying to get a lay of the land.
How tough is that? I know it's probably more difficult to get traded in the season, right? Because you're playing, you're grinding, or is it? I mean, I know it's been a whirlwind for you the last couple of weeks. You get traded, you're moving the family, you're looking at houses, you're renting, you're buying. Like, that's what people don't understand about being an NHL player, right? Is you're kind of like a piece of meat, and now it's not the first time it's happened to you. You've been on other teams before, but you go from New York and now you're in Utah. It had to have been a whirlwind for you guys.
Yeah, honestly, so I think it's different now that my kids are older. They're 8 and 5. So now there's like I'm thinking about like schools, and my son plays youth hockey. So it's like thinking about that stuff. The first time I got traded was from Florida to Carolina. My son was only 2. My daughter was not even born yet. So I think in that sense, it was like almost easier to get traded mid-season, because it was just like, you don't really have a choice. You just got to get up and go. So, but now that they're older, it's like I'm thinking about a lot more things. I'm not thinking so much about myself.
Well, that's the first. That's not like me. I can tell you that.
What is your son? Is it Leo? What does he think about it? Because I've seen him a part of a bunch of content before. What does he think about? Are you going to get him in skiing or anything like that? What's been kind of his thought process through this?
Yeah, my wife's been talking about getting him into skiing. He's so funny. I mean, he's like, whenever we were talking about where I was getting traded, I mentioned Utah as a possibility, and he's like, "Oh, Cools is on that team. He's sick." And he's like, "There's so many sick guys. Like, that'd be sweet." Oh, they have now. You know, the big thing is now the Rangers didn't have a mascot, so for the last 4 years, he was
Tusky.
he was trying so hard to convince the Rangers to get a mascot, but now he's super stoked to have Tusky.
What's your relationship? I know you skate with Cools, but I know that social media, that picture is floating around. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was laughing my absolute ass off when I saw it. And now you guys are going to be teammates, both from Pittsburgh, obviously. I mean, this is pretty cool. But what do you know about Cools?
Yeah, I've known him for a long time. I actually kind of grew up with so his cousin LJ Mooney, who is a Montreal Canadiens draft pick. His older sister and I were close growing up. So I've known the family for a long time, and I got to watch him and his cousin LJ kind of grow up as hockey players. And it's always been like, since they were young, they would come on the ice with us. I'd be in the NHL and they'd be embarrassing me at 10 to 12 years old. Like they've always been super skilled. So to watch them grow into the players that they've become is pretty special and pretty cool to see.
So do you watch, sorry about this. Do you watch? So I was talking to Wayne Gretzky last night, and he was talking about Ray Whitney. And Ray Whitney, I don't know if you know this story, but Ray Whitney was the stick boy in the Oilers locker room. He would tape all Gretz's sticks. He put the baby powder on it before the games. And Gretz was like, I couldn't believe it, but I always knew that Ray Whitney was going to make the NHL at some point, right? I mean, was that kind of the same thing for you, watching Cooley and the relationship you guys had as young kids?
Yeah, I mean, there was no doubt in my mind that he would make it, and if not just make it, be a star. I know it's so hard to like kind of see when they're that young. They're like, all right, there's a lot of kids that are really skilled whenever they're 10 years old, and then they grow up, guys get bigger, stuff like that. But it was the skill that he has. It's been like that since he was a young kid.
Have you seen him like mature as a person too? Because I mean, he's still a kid, right? He's smiling, maybe not. he's not asking him for living suggestions, but like interviewing him, it seemed like last year he matured a lot in the way that he spoke with us, like in the locker room and things like that. And he's a joy to talk to. But have you seen him mature since when he was, a 12-year-old to now? How have you seen him kind of morph into a new man?
Yeah, he's still an idiot, but he's like,
This is what I miss.
He's super mature. Like, a lot of young guys, they come into the league and you have to teach them how to become pros. That's not the case with Cools. Like, he's been a pro for a long time. He's always been the guy that's the last guy on the ice, first guy on the ice. He's in the gym. He knows what he's doing. Like, he's a professional hockey player, and you don't need to teach him anything. He's very mature in that sense.
How about your relationship with Kels? Obviously, you were on Team USA. You win a gold medal. That will bond for you guys for life. But now teammates and potentially line mates. I mean, how exciting is that? And do you feel the excitement? Because I've been following this team for a long, long time. Back in Phoenix, we have never had that top line forward, centerman in particular, because you're dominant in the draws. But do you feel the excitement about how excited everyone's to have you?
Yeah, I mean, I do. Honestly, I feel more the excitement just around the team in general. Like, you see the fans, and I feel like you said, going back to Arizona, it was a little bit more lackluster back there with the fans. And then moving here, I feel like the first year here, it was already like a huge step in the right direction from a fan standpoint. They saw that. And then obviously last year, the way they succeeded and how well they played, you can feel the buzz around the city.
Well, you and Tyson both mentioned Keller, and I'm curious because we've seen American players dominating the headlines in the NHL for the last little bit, and there's jokes flying around about that Team USA group chat. Like, do you think the perspectives on life and hockey and what you want out of both, did that change for you or a lot of those Team USA guys when you were playing for Olympic gold and having that amazing success?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much the headlines are like real in a sense. Like, the Team USA guys were all asking to get traded or asking out of their specific cities, but there's definitely something to the fact that you win a gold medal and you talk to guys that win Stanley Cups, and there's definitely something to when you win. It's contagious, and it's like you want to get back to that winning stage again. So after winning a gold medal, it's very like you urge to get back to that spot.
So I'm Canadian. I am just happy we don't have to watch The Miracle anymore. We might get a sequel, right? So congratulations on that. But those parties, they were absolutely epic. I couldn't get enough of the reels that we were seeing. Who was leading the charge? Who was behind all that?
Leading the charge. So we got rerouted from we're supposed to fly into New York from Milan, and there was bad weather, so we got rerouted to Miami,
Whoops.
which didn't suck. And so being in Florida, Matthew Tkachuk, he kind of led the charge. He's the one who set everything up. But once we got out, I think the biggest surprise to me was the guy who I thought was the MVP of the night was maybe Zach Werenski. He was
No way.
all time. Yeah, he was unbelievable the whole night.
That's unreal. What a surprise. I played with Keith Tkachuk, Big Walt. So, yeah, I'm not surprised Matthew was part of that.
Yeah.
You got announced alongside another player from the state of New York who's been another leader in this league for a long time, and Anders Lee. What's it been like playing against him? And I know you mentioned this in the press conference a little bit, but what's it like playing against him, and what's it like to kind of have your announcement come alongside his?
Yeah, I mean, just to get him on this team, it was like another this is awesome kind of moment. Like, the team's already great, and then we get another guy that's like obviously a phenomenal leader. He's been a leader in New York for 15 years. And then playing against him, he's a guy who brings just a different aspect to the game. Obviously, this team has been very skilled, very fast. They play high tempo, and Leasy can he's a guy who is obviously a big body. He plays hard. He protects his teammates. He can put the puck in the net. He brings a lot of intangibles to the game that go a long way.
That battle between you guys, the Rangers, the Islanders, I mean, come on. There's got to be something. The battles that you two must have had at some point, I mean, you guys must laugh about it, or you're going to be laughing about it, because I think he's there in Utah as well. But
Yeah,
now
he's
you're on
out
the
there.
same team. I've seen the Battle of Alberta. I know what it's all about.
Yeah, the battle. But you know what? The thing is, whenever I have to go up against Leasy, for me, I hand him off. It's not worth it for me to try. He's too big. He's too strong. If I get in a net front battle with him, I might as well go double team someone else, because I'm not getting him out of there.
just a man rocket too. What is he? I'm looking at the thing. It was 6'3", 235 pounds. Like that. That's a moose.
Yeah, lean 235
and lean.
too. Oh yeah,
Oh, jeez.
built like
Man
a Greek
rocket.
god.
Some guys have it all.
Yeah,
You've been a part of some like pretty incredible outdoor games with the Rangers. We got one coming up in Utah. You had one against Lee's Islanders. What was that, MetLife, a couple years ago?
MetLife, yeah.
That was a crazy like 6-5 the overtime game. What was that game like? And that had to have been one of the high points, I would think, of your at least regular season career.
Yeah, they've been kind of these outdoor games. I didn't have one for the first 12 years of my career, and now they've been following me around. But that one was probably the coolest one, just because of the game and the atmosphere there and the snowfall and all of everything kind of coming together. And we were down, I think, 2 or 3 late in the third, and we ended up coming back and winning in overtime. So make sure you bring that up to Leezy if you guys talk to him. But yeah, that one was really cool.
Talk about being a Ranger, like, because every player that plays in the National Hockey League, you have to play in New York at some point. I mean, putting on that jersey, the city, you're taking the subway to the games, or like, I don't even know what it's like, but going out afterwards, what is it like to be a New York Ranger? Because I know it's a first-class organization.
Yeah, it is. It was awesome. I mean, to be able to do that once in my career for a few years, me and my family are very blessed to have been able to do it. Playing in MSG is just, you play there on the road. My first, whatever it was, 9 years in the league, playing in MSG was always like, that's one you circle on your calendar. You're like, this is going to be awesome. I'm going bucket off and warm ups. I'm in New York City. Like, this is awesome.
Oh yeah.
But playing there is just something different. It's the coolest arena in the world. So, and then
even
you get the
for
city.
Broadcasters, the suits we pick out, I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
we're
of
bringing out
course.
the A suit. Let's go.
course.
We're going out
Yeah.
after.
And then you see the fans in the playoffs, especially. They're such diehards, and the arena gets bumping. So it was awesome. We loved the community there. Yeah, it was a great 4 years for us.
Florida, Carolina, New York Rangers, now the Utah Mammoth. Very drastically different markets there. But I want to ask you about a guy from your Florida days that you played with. You played with Jaromir Jagr for a couple years, and that was at the end of his North American career. I think he's still going. But how was he still able to compete? What was he like in the room?
He was honestly just like a kid. He was just, I can't even remember I don't know how old he was at that point. I think he was like 42 to 45. But he was just a big kid, and he was still like built like a Greek god, and he was in the gym nonstop. And honestly, I think he taught Sasha Barkov a lot. I think Barky, he really utilized the time that he had with him, and he soaked in everything that Yogs had. I mean, you see Barky's stick now is like 7 feet tall, just like Yogs's was, and the way that he plays the game, their line was Barkov, Huberdeau, and Yogs at that point for 3 years, and Yogs was probably the least skilled on that line at that point, but he taught them how to play the game, and it was really fun to watch, like watching them grow up and dominate for 3 years with Yogs on their line, and just being able to play. I mean, I grew up in Pittsburgh, so he was like one of my idols, him and Mario, when I was younger. So to be able to play with him was so awesome.
I love a new player perspective, and what, I guess, the Utah Mammoth, what you thought they were, what you know about them, playing against them. Like, what excites you about the Utah Mammoth and coming here? This is the last question for me.
Yeah, I mean, playing against them the last couple of years, especially last year, they were so hard to play against just because of how fast and how skilled they were. Like, you come in here and it's just like it's a bomb hit you. Whenever first period you come out and you got Kells, Schmaltzy, Cools, Gunner, like they're all just firing on all cylinders. So just to be able to see that and be able to come into this locker room and try to bring a different aspect to the game it's exciting. I think we have a really good team.
Does it help, like, kind of re-energize you a little bit? Not that you needed it, but like a new scenery, all that stuff, young players?
Yeah, it does. It's kind of funny to see because it's, I think the kind of whirlwind that you were talking about earlier, it throws a little bit of a wrench into things with family, and it's a little stressful in that sense. when you have kids, like I said, schools and my son on youth hockey, just thinking about all that. But to see after we've kind of like settled down after the fact and the excitement that it's brought us, it's like a new adventure. It's a new journey. And my son's walking through the rink today, like
in the hot tub, cannonballs.
yeah, he sees like everything. Like he's just so excited. And I mean, I am too. It's just, like you said, it's a new perspective, but it just brings more energy to it.
Troch, this has been awesome. We're so excited to have you in Utah. We got intel that you're a foodie, big Italian guy. Have you found any local Italian in the 16 hours that you've been in SLC?
Not yet, no. We went to Fleming's last night, so I wouldn't say that we ventured out very far.
Matteo, unreal Italian. Unreal
yeah?
Italian. Hit it up, Matteo. It's our spot. I'm a fixture there at the bar. I'm like Norm at Cheers. So.
All right. Well, I'll see you there because I need my Italian food. I can't go without it.
Oh, yeah. A little chicken parm. Well, welcome to the Utah Mammoth, man. Cannot wait. The excitement is buzzing. Can't wait to see you once training camp kicks off.
Thanks, boys. Can't wait.
Foltz, there you have it. You were spectacular, buddy, as always. But I got to say, before you took us to the interview with Vincent Trocheck, thank you, by the way, Vinny. Dilly-dally? Did you just say dilly-dally? You sounded like my dad, who's 84. My dad used to say that when I would go out on the ice. You're dilly-dallying all over there. Like, what was going on? I'm like, what the hell is dilly-dally? Like, but I get it now. I get it now. I love it, but you just aged yourself by about 50 years.
Is your dad also a stud? I mean,
he is. He actually is. We call him Mr. Scottsdale. He looks a little bit like Ronald McDonald it's gray though instead of red. He's got cheeseburgers in his pockets. The guy is 84. It was his 84th birthday, July 12th. The guy is a stallion. Still looks great, outworks me every day. I invite him up every year to help me out with my landscaping. My brother, it absolutely drives my brother crazy because he thinks I'm going to, kill the guy, but he just works. He's a farm boy. He's got that farmer strength, right? So he's a cowboy. So
I love that. Well, wow. Happy birthday to Mr.
Big
Nash.
G.
Was he, is dilly-dally, is that like a Western Canadian thing? Like, do I sound Canadian when I say dilly-dally?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I want to give you some credit to say it's certainly not a cowboy thing. I can tell you that, but it's old school. It is old school. But how about that interview? How about that interview? The excitement, from Vincent Trocheck, and people, this is what people don't understand. And I've been traded. I was traded at the draft, the one time that I was ever dealt. And you don't understand what goes into it, right? I mean, you got a home in that city that you're at. You got schools, you got babysitters, you got favorite restaurants, you got all your friends, right? You got your teammates that become family. And now you get that phone call and it's like, no, you're off, you're moving, see you later. And in 2 weeks, you're in another city. He's looking for a home. He was going out with a real estate agent right after our interview, and he's looking to find a home and his new home in Utah. But I love the excitement. And he also talked Folta about going to a young team. I always find it fascinating what players on other teams think of the Utah Mammoth. I mean, we watch them every day. We kind of get, blindsided a little bit. We're too close to the forest. These guys come in with a fresh, and everyone says the same thing. These guys are the fastest, just a house on fire. You better be ready to play the Utah Mammoth when you step on that ice and especially in the Delta Center. He played in Madison Square Garden, my favorite arena of all time. And he goes, I'm telling you, the Delta Center is just different. It's just different. So that's a testament to the fans and the community. But he's excited.
Yeah, and he told us before, you can call him Vince, call him Vinny, call him Vincent, call him whatever. Just don't call him shy about going to the net because he goes right to the front of the net, plays a straight line game. But him and Anders Lee hit all the right notes in the press conference and then in the interviews with us. And something that stood out to me, Tyson, from the press conference was for the first time, I heard a Utah Mammoth player mention the words Stanley Cup when talking about goals for the season. And I think the Mammoth have a lot of work to do and a lot of proving to do before they're a real contender in the Western Conference. You got to do a lot more than just make it one round in the playoffs. But that was the first time I had heard those words when a player was talking about goals. Because, for the last 2 years, the Mammoth had just been saying, oh, we want to make the playoffs. Oh, we want to play meaningful games and stuff like that. But Lee and Trocheck, they're not here to just play meaningful games. They're not here to just play one round of the playoffs. Those guys want to win the whole thing.
Yeah, and for both those guys, I don't know this. You may know Trocheck. Did he have a no trade? I mean, there was
He did, and he changed it. He changed it to put Utah
right
to
so
move
there you
Utah
go.
off the list. Yeah.
So there you go. And Anders Lee, he was a free agent signing, and from my understanding, he went and he came calling to the Utah Mammoth. So that tells you what they think of the Mammoth and the direction they're going. And no player in the world, I can tell you this, you don't want to rebuild. If you're in a rebuild, your career is dying a slow death, which mine certainly did. And I think the other thing is that they talked about playing meaningful games. Then last year, Clayton Keller, the captain, comes out and says, no, it's playoffs or bust. This will be considered a horrendous year if we don't get into the dance. So he set the bar, and now players are talking about the Stanley Cup. I mean, that's how it has to go. You put it out there in the universe, buddy, and you never know what can happen. I've seen teams win the cup, hoist the cup, not this last time by Carolina, but I think the time before that, they were just floating around the middle of the stats and the standings, right? So you never know. And when you have an owner like Ryan and Ashley Smith, no, they don't want to blow things up in order to win today necessarily, but they want to win. And I can promise you, in the next 5 to 6 years, this team will have an opportunity to be there and hoist that cup.
Yeah, and as we've seen the last few years in playoffs too, like you just need to get in, right? And we heard that from Bill and Chris at the end of year presser following this last playoff run. Bill was like, "No, the goal this year is not necessarily to make like the second round of the playoffs. The goal is just to get in, and then our experience and our improved roster will help us get through the playoffs." So
Well, look at
it's
Vegas. Vegas barely got
exactly.
in. I mean, they just get in and they go all the way to the finals, So
Yeah.
you just never know. You really don't. That's the beauty of our game. Anything can happen if you get to the dance. We saw Utah. They gave Vegas every single thing they could handle and some. A couple bounces here and there. Anyway, they lost. It is what it is. But this is a team that had some much needed experience. The last time guys like Keller and Crouse got into the playoffs was in the bubble when every team pretty much got into the playoffs. So for me, that didn't even count, right?
Yeah.
That was a one-off. This was real. This was of substance. And this team now has two massive pieces with Vincent Trocheck, who you just heard from, and Anders Lee, who has been a captain with the New York Islanders for 8 years, spent his entire career there. So I can't wait for that one to launch, because these are two massive pieces to what they're building in Utah.
And my last thing before we wrap things up, Tyson, you were talking about Barrett Hayton and being on the third line, how good that's going to be for him this year. But with guys like Lee and Trocheck, now all of a sudden, that third line, it's not your grandma's third line anymore, right? Like Barrett Hayton on that third line is going to be playing with guys like Lawson Crouse and Carcone and Daniil Boot or Jack McBain, whoever it might be. It's not just going to be a bunch of like bottom six grinders per se. It's going to be guys that have scored 20 goals in the league.
Right. And look at Stenlund. I mean, whoever plays with Stenlund, I mean, this guy's an animal back there. And we talk about strength down the middle. And this is my last thing, Foltz. One thing we didn't touch on enough with Trocheck was that this guy has been the best faceoff man in the entire National Hockey League for a couple seasons, right? Not last year, but seasons before that. So you take pride in winning faceoffs. It is such a big thing. Players make millions and millions of dollars by just being good in the faceoff circle. So kids at home, if you're listening, work on your faceoffs. It matters. It is a tough position because you have to play all over the ice. You got to play in the offensive zone, and you certainly have to be able to play in your defensive zone below the goal line, mucking and grinding, winning battles. But it starts in the circle. And Trocheck, I'm telling you, it matters. Players want to play with him. Imagine Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz starting out with the puck every single shift, right?
Yeah.
Or at least 60% of them. Like, that matters. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but I'm telling you it is.
It's one of the reasons that he has a gold medal in his trophy case from his services with Team USA in Milan. But thanks again to Vincent Trocheck. Thank you to you for listening this week. And the plan is to chat with Anders Lee next week on the show. So that is when we will talk to you next. Until then, thanks for listening. God bless. Tuss up.